Broadway, listen to the Broadway beat. Broadway makes you wanna move your feet. Everybody's tapping into everything that's happening on Broadway beats. Broadway beats. Broadway beats. Broadway beat.
Hello, I'm Richard Ridge for Broadway Beat. MCC Theatre is presenting the world premiere of Jeff Talbot's new play, The Submission, at the Lucille Lortel under the direction of Walter Bobby. It stars Jonathan Groff, Will Rogers, Eddie K. Thomas, and Martina Wesley, and we're here with the company to celebrate on opening night.
It's taut, it's mean, it feels, I hate this word, authentic. As in like right now, you know?
I think it might be good.
I think it might be too.
Oh man. I mean, fuck, I was so freaking nervous. That's why I couldn't show Pete.
Well, don't be, show it.
I will.
Danny, this is...
Yeah, I know.
Well, how did you...
I have no clue. It just happened. You know that thing where people say, I didn't write it wrote itself. Those assholes are such bullshit.
Bullshit.
Well, I didn't write it wrote itself.
You're an asshole.
I know.
I started writing what I thought was going to be just a comedy about theater. And I got a couple of scenes in and thought that that's not much of a play. I thought I don't want to see that play. And then I remembered an argument I had with a friend of mine in grad school, an argument about ownership of story, really, about I understand what it's like. I'm a gay man in the world. I understand what it's like for you. He's an African-American guy. And he said, I don't think you understand what it's like for me. And we had a fairly serious conversation about that took us off track from each other for a couple of days. And I remembered that, and I thought, well, I could write a play around that. And that's the play I ended up writing.
It's a dynamite play.
Thank you.
So where did it start and before it got here to MCC?
I finished a draft of it about 18 months ago. And I sent it to MCC as a blind submission, and they asked for the entire script. And a year ago in June, on Tony night actually, I was contacted by the department, by their literary manager, a guy named Stephen Willems, who is honestly the hero of this story. He just found the play in a pile, and he said, hey, we really like this play, we'd like to develop it with you. And then over the course of the next several months, we did a couple of readings, and they submitted it for the Lawrence Hatcher Award, and lo and behold, that happened, which allowed us to make sure that it was happening in a very short amount of time, because from the time they received it to the time it got produced was very truncated for theater production in this country. And that was partly the way Arthur designed the award, and we couldn't be more grateful for it.
Well, MCC called and they asked me to look at this play, and I read it and I loved it immediately. I thought it was so smart, and it had such integrity, and it deals with such complex issues in terms of race and gender politics, but it doesn't presume to have a conclusion about them. It just ignites the conversation again, and it ignites the conversation in a forthright way with genuine integrity, and it bristles. I think the play is bold, and I had the good fortune to have 4 very trusting and brave actors not back off from this material, because there's some very ugly, very toxic kinds of behavior. Things are said that are not nice, more than not nice. There's comedy and emotional brutality in this play, and it's interesting to know that no matter how far we think we've come in terms of racial politics and gender politics, there is residue that is generations, if not centuries, away from being completely absorbed. We're not as post-political as we would like to be, and I'm glad that Jeff Talbot has written a play that reignites, reimagines that conversation.
I wrote this play.
You're the playwright?
Yeah.
So who's this?
Hopefully you.
Okay, you're not
I
making
wrote the
any
play, but I think it's pretty clear why I'd be a little unsure about people's response to me being the author. So when I sent it out into the world, after people to look at, I put another name on it. I put this name on it. Because I thought, and this is where I'm pretty sure I'm looking like a big tool, I thought that if it wasn't some name like Danny Larson on this particular play, people might actually read it, might think about reading it, so I put this name on it. And I never expected, I'd hoped certainly, but never expected anybody to pick up the thing, because it's my 5th full length and nobody's jumped at anything yet, so I had no idea how that would feel, how that would go. And when the phone call came, I panicked and said I was the playwright's cousin and that I'd give her the message, and that was a week ago, and I haven't had the balls to call them back and tell them the truth. And they've been emailing me. Well, emailing her to start scheduling meetings with directors and things, and I think that if I show up, that if this who the fuck is he white guy shows up, they're gonna pull the plug on the whole thing. And that might leave me completely unable to write another word forever.
I think it's relevant to the issues that we have today, especially who has ownership over stories, different cultures. Just because you're not of one specific culture doesn't mean that you maybe cannot tell that story because based on your own experience in life. I feel like if you're able to touch upon the humanity of characters and find an engaging story that can move an audience, I think why not tell it? And I think Jeff has found this amazing play with these 4 characters, and it's heartbreaking to see these relationships sort of connect and then disconnect, and then go to that place where there's like no return, where you sort of can't go back from where they go to. And we've all grown to really sort of become a family, and I can't tell you how hard it is every night, how it's getting harder and harder to say the things I have to say and do the things I have to do as an actor, because I truly love these people on stage. And it's just tough, but it's also reminds me of life. When people's buttons are pushed, you tend to sort of, you might say something you don't necessarily mean in the moment, but then can you take it back? You know, and so that's what I like, how this place sort of like, you know, gives these questions out to the audience of like, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And we sort of kind of give it to you and let you sort of walk away with what, you know, your own opinions are, and kind of have a debate, have a discussion about issues and life and humanity and whatever you want to talk about.
I had no idea why on earth they wanted me to do it, and it terrified me, and it made me feel incredibly uncomfortable. And I thought it was brave and bold of Jeff Talbot to write it. And when something makes me cringe and laugh, I feel like that's a good sign.
Talk about your role. What can you tell us?
I play Pete, who's the main character's boyfriend. Pete is someone who's not in the art world, who has a normal job, a normal life, loves the arts, and craves the excitement of the artist's life, but doesn't understand why artists drive themselves mad, which is why I love playing him every night, because it gives me a reminder that we can be sane if we want to. We don't have to let the theater drive us mad.
How's Emily? The same. I think it was cool to get on the set today, she said.
They get so spatty.
Tell me about it.
Oh, yeah. Here is the new complete thing. Danny says the changes they asked for are underlined. They're double underlined, or whatever. He says that they'll know.
You know, you could have just emailed this.
He did.
We might print this out.
Because he wanted to make extra
such
sure.
a waste.
Well, this is the only way that he
It's bad for the trees, you know?
Okay, well, listen, Lorax. Jesus. It's because he's crazy right now, Trev, okay?
Okay.
He is
I know.
crazy.
4 more days. That's what I keep telling her. 4 more days. I think it's good we're here now. You know, it gives everyone a pressure-type release valve situation.
Sure.
But she is wound pretty tight. And as effed up and slightly exciting as I thought this plan was, I'm pretty much just on the side of plain effed up.
Oh, amen to the fucked up.
I mean, this will be over and we'll go back to normal, right?
I don't know what that means anymore.
It's a very provocative play. It kind of took me by surprise in terms of where it goes. From the start to finish, it's a guy that I could relate to a lot. In terms the character that I get to play, it's not that far from me, luckily, which is always nice when you read that. But all of a sudden, some of the themes or the conflict of the play, which continues to build throughout every scene. By the end of it, it kind of goes beyond the point that most people, I think, are comfortable dealing with, and myself included. And so by the end of it, it was like, well, this is something that I need to do, rather than something that I'd like to do it. I said yes, thankfully, because they wanted me to be a part of it, and I was very lucky to get that chance.
This was the first time that I was ever offered a role before, just straight up offered a role, so that was surprising to me to start out with. And then when I first read the play, I was surprised and shocked by it, and I was made nervous by it. And usually whenever I have a little like tinge of nervousness in my stomach about doing something, that usually means that it's the right thing to do. And that sort of feeling of being uncomfortable and being excited has lasted throughout the rehearsal process and through the run of the show. It's a really unique and exciting, I think, night in the theater.
You're a really tight company, the four of you, aren't you?
Yeah, we are. The company has gotten along so much offstage, which I think really helps our onstage relationship, because we really have to dig into each other on stage and really be vulnerable and intense with each other on stage. So the fact that the four of us, that it's kind of a love fest backstage, I think really helps with the onstage relationships.
Talk about your director, Walter Bobby. The one thing I noticed the other night was it's seamless. The scene changes. It's like another show that goes on at the same time.
Yeah, totally. Walter is an incredible director, and he said it in rehearsal that his like thing is transitions and keeping a piece moving, and I think that this piece really does move quickly and move fast. I mean, every time that I tell my friends that I'm in a play, I remind them that I'm in a 90-minute production, and that's always like a great selling point, that there's no intermission, you're in and out, and it's a really quick, which I think also for this piece, it starts out as a comedy, I think, and starts out as a funny sort of evening in the theater, and it so quickly turns into something else that it really catches people off guard and makes it a really intense evening.
And the title of his play is Call a Spade.
And the title of his play is Call a Spade, and he is very afraid that his play would be immediately dismissed because he is a white dude.
So you want to pull some Freaky Friday shit with me?
More like some Victor Victoria shit, I think.
Huh, you are very gay.
Yes, ma'am.
God.
I know.
Well, first of all, this isn't even a real name.
It's not supposed to be a real name.
I mean, it's not a name. I don't even know how you say it. Shalia Ganata, what?
Shalia Ganata Moby. Yeah.
You said it so easily.
I've been practicing.
That's not a name. It's just a bunch of sounds put together.